If anybody wants to speak at public comment, make sure you fill out a form. We're going to go through this workshop very casually, so as we ask questions, if there's any added comment or thoughts or suggestions, this is very informal, but to speak at public comment, you must fill out a form so Kim can keep a record of names and addresses and the like. So I'll just give them...
Some here. You want me to...
I told Amber she could go first because she's got to go do a presentation, so she's filling out one. I just told her she could. Okay. And she just might have her name. We can fill out the rest of it. Did you? Where is it? You have it? Where is it? Oh, okay.
Area, you have some new people walking in. You might let them know if they want to.
If there's anyone that wants to speak at public comment, you have about a minute to fill out the form. So please do that and bring it in with you. We'll go get it. And then we will absolutely have discussion if there's anything added once council asks questions on any of the topics. But to speak at public comment, you need to fill out the public comment form so she has it for her records. As we're doing that, Kim, maybe just give whoever walks in a minute if they come in. It's okay. Yeah. So we will call the workshop to order. It's our quarterly workshop. This is Tuesday, April 16th. We have Dan Wood, Fred Hamilton, and myself present. Larry Toomer is sick, and we're waiting on Harry, but I think we can get started, and he can come in. So we will jump right on into public comments. These are pertaining only to the 3 agenda items that were listed on the screen, which is stormwater utility, the dock, or Squire Pope Cottage preservation. That's the only public comment we're taking tonight. So I'll start with Amber Kuhn. And Amber, while you're coming up, if you just say your name and address for the mic, and if they both will pick you up pretty easily.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
My name is Amber Kuhn. I live at 31 Alljoy Road, and I'm here to tell you for 3 minutes how I feel about the dock. So I am a very busy person. I do 75% of my life is volunteer work with sea turtles on the beach and marine mammals, and I'm a little bit out of the loop on this until recently, which is very surprising because I'm one of the boat operators that run out of the town dock. So to me, and I've heard a little bit here and there, you know, it's a small town still, and my parents go to the churches downtown, and they have friends that are behind this in the opposite direction that I would take it. It boils down to the church doesn't want to see change, and they don't want to see riffraff in their area. I've heard my parents talk about it from their church service, which honestly I don't think is the appropriate place to have this discussion. To avoid stating the obvious, the reference to parking, bathrooms, alcoholic beverage parties, these seem to be the main topics of fear with that church area. And to be honest, the bathrooms that our customers, well, my customers, because Chris has his own facilities, might use, there are a lot of older people and they have emergencies sometimes, and they use the church. If we get the park going, it has to do with the dock, then we have the bathroom situation covered. Chris has his own parking lot, so he doesn't have a parking issue. Palmetto Bluff, outside Hilton Head, originates out of Palmetto Bluff, so they don't have a parking issue. It's really just me, and I have one boat that runs maybe 3 days a week. So my parking might take 5 spots up 3 days a week, and I do not run on Sundays. As far as the alternatives, there really isn't any alternative in Bluffton because Alljoy is basically a contractor's launch ramp to get to Defusky and back on a daily basis. The Oyster Company Park has one spot that you can actually tie up for, and if you know about boat launching, you have to launch your boat, tie there, park your trailer, and come back. It's not something that tour boats can use. I do also want to make a point that that town dock has been a commercial dock since before the churches were built. So before the Civil War, a steamship took people from that dock to Savannah because you aren't getting your horse and carriage through the Savannah swamp that way. So that was a main back and forth transport depot. I entertain visitors. Chris entertains visitors. I do all the field trips for the Beaufort County school systems on the water. I do all the town orientation for your new employees. We are embracing the change. We want people to actually get to experience the river and know what it's all about. We both grew up on the river. We don't want to see anything happen to it. So I think that it's more important to have these opportunities for people who don't have boats, who don't have friends with boats. We get to take them out, and it's really the only option. I think that the pushback has to do with the fact that we don't really care about commercial being there. We just want to hold up this project. So please consider those things, and thank you so much for letting me go first. I'm going to go talk in Hilton Head.
No, thank you. And thank you for your support on the plastic bags too, Amber. It's been great to have your viewpoint on things. Dennis Cormier, and while you're coming up, sir, did you fill out a card? Right, yes. You've got to bring it up to Kim. Anybody who filled out one of these, bring it up to Kim. So I think we have everybody. Okay, name, address, 3 minutes.
Good evening, Dennis Cormier,
Yes, sir.
4924 Bluffton Parkway. Kind of new to the area, moved here in 2011. And since we moved here, well, we moved to Bluffton because we liked the small town environment, the small town atmosphere. And quite frankly, in the time we've been here, all we've read about is more schools, more building, more traffic. In my view, having spent a lot of time down in that river in the short time that I've been here, just not going to be enough room for people, for traffic, for safety. I walk through there on a daily basis, all times of the day, and quite frankly, there isn't a week that goes by that I'm not almost hit by a car trying to cross the street down that way. Nobody observes the stop signs. No one is enforcing the stop signs. And I just really think that the whole environment down there is just not large enough for a project of this scope and size. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Steve Kaiser. Good evening.
Steve Kaiser, 1256 May River Road. That's an office location and a business location, and also I live on Myrtle Island, just down the street off of All Joy. I've lived here I'm in my 5th decade. We've raised 3 children and 7 grandchildren, all have been born here. And I know all of you, and I know most of the people in the audience tonight. And I think that the reference a minute ago regarding pushback, probably true, but not for the reasons that were stated from my perspective. There are 3 areas of concern that I have. The current dock permit that's been issued does not allow any commercial activity if it's built under the current permit. 12 days ago, this community learned that that current dock permit that we have had issued by OCRM and the Corps of Engineers is up for discussion to be changed to a commercial dock. By definition, the community dock that's been permitted and the commercial dock are worlds apart. Both have their place. Either one of them could work. If we build the dock the way it's currently permitted by law, the special condition in that permit says that the people who are in the commercial business today will not be able to operate there. That's what it says. If you apply for a commercial dock, you've now changed the use that was intended by the town when it applied for the community dock to a commercial dock, which has a whole different list of uses that are intended. Not necessarily bad, but different. It was stated at the April 4th workshop that the town has been talking about a new dock since 2017 in the Old Town Master Plan. And then in 2018, we attended multiple opportunities to be heard and to speak. Then the dock permit was issued. And 12 days ago, we learned for the first time that the permit is now being considered for review purposes to be resubmitted, if I'm correct in what we heard on April the 4th, as a commercial dock. I'm not against that. What I am against is doing these things without a really careful evaluation of the impact of the bottleneck that will occur at the end of Calhoun Street. Go down there today on any busy day, you see people being picked up there by boat, recreational boats and commercial boats. I hope that continues. We all hope that continues. We need rules and regulations to consider before shifting from a community recreational dock to a commercial dock before the application is put forth to the state and federal agencies. And I think a blue ribbon committee could be formed by town council to address parking, dock usage.
Can you try to finish up, Steve?
250 feet of commercial dock space would be a wonderful thing, but that would allow 10 or 12 boats that would carry 6, 8, or 10 or 12 passengers each. And if they all picked up people who
Steve,
parked
your
there,
time's finished,
it would
so-
not be a good thing. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Can you turn that, I don't think they can hear it.
I'm texting Tommy right now.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just don't think y'all can hear when the 3 minutes, and you can see the clock. We have quite a few comments, and we have a lot on our workshop agenda, so we need to keep it right to 3 minutes. Lewis Rhodes?
Roads, 12 Water Street.
Good evening.
Surprised and disappointed that town council and mayor are considering at all the community dock designation change to commercial. The town council and mayor are elected officials chosen to represent the public good fairly and responsibly. The reason for this change is to solely accommodate a boat business at the expense of the May River, residents, tourists, fishermen, crabbers, and shrimpers using the community dock. Many people go onto the community dock to view the dolphins, seabirds, spartina grass, sunsets, sunrises, tranquility of the May River. The boat company with 4 to 5 boats disrupts and distracts the people enjoying the river. The vistas, also, it disrupts by the noisy unloading and loading of people they're taking over to Defusky, touring the river. This boat company, primarily one, uses the community dock as their private dock, rarely adhering to no-wake zones and at taxpayer expense. The May River is under tremendous pressure by the boat companies with their oil and gas pollution, causing contamination of the oyster beds nearby in this narrow portion of the May River. The large wakes of these speeding boats damage the oyster beds. The May River is the unique feature of Bluffton, separating or differentiating Bluffton from many other towns. The May River must be preserved. Pat Conroy, whom I'm a big fan, quoted, and others have heard me quote this before since all this has come up: give people enough time and they will kill it, the May River. And one of Pat Conroy's novels, Prince of Tides, entitled, I'm asking town council to be princes of tides and act in the best interest of the May River and majority. The Oyster Factory Park was put down by the first speaker, saying it was not large enough, it can be enlarged, more floating docks. Is a commercial dock now. The park has ample parking, bathroom facilities, and absence of traffic congestion as seen on Calhoun Street. Also, there are no churches there at Oyster Factory Park. The commercial dock already exists. There will be no need to appeal to South Carolina DHEC. Kayak and paddleboards tours are operating at Oyster Factory Park now, not at the present community dock, as was said in the questionnaire.
Or your 3 minutes is, if you can finish
Got
it
it.
up.
One last statement.
Okay.
I've said this before too. Jean Ribaud in 1562 sailed into this river of high bluffs. He proclaimed La Belle Rivière de Mai, translated the beautiful river of May.
Thank you, sir. Carolyn Rhodes? And again, when y'all see, you can see the clock, let's try to stick to that time frame. I'd really appreciate it. Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and I'm sorry to say that I am very much opposed to this.
Name and address quickly.
I'm Carolyn Rhodes. I reside at 12 Water Street and have for the past 30 years. Okay, I'm definitely opposed to the reapplication for the use of the Calhoun Street dock for commercial purposes. And I say this with respect to numerous reasons. Number one, Bluffton already has the dock at the Oyster Factory Park, which has no commercial restrictions. That's already in place. This, as stated, and I certainly agree with Dr. Rhodes in the fact that there are already bathroom facilities there, accessible parking, and easy access, and it's also very close to Calhoun Street. May River is wide at this area. In addition, as opposed to the May River at the Calhoun Street dock being the narrowest portion. And I think the impact of increased commercial activity, as we've seen for the past 3 years, it's increased every year, will have much more detrimental effect on the marsh, the marine life, and the dolphins. So that's why I think that the commercial activity should be restricted to the Oyster Factory dock. Second point I want to make is that the Calhoun Street dock is located in a zoned residential, low-intensity area in the middle of the historic district. There are 2 expanding churches and have been for many, many years. The activities and uses of the Methodist Church and the Church of the Cross, including regular services, in addition to special services, weddings, funerals, baptisms, should be respected. The commercial boat activity with its accompanying noise is disruptive to these activities and also to the residents and visitors who come to this area seeking a peaceful, serene environment. The community dock only use ensures residents, private boats, and visitors a dedicated space where they can fish, come to enjoy the sunrises and sunsets, bird watch the dolphins, and just enjoy the breezes on the May without being pushed out by the increased commercial use in and out of that dock constantly. And that's an ongoing frustration that has continued to be experienced. I'm asking you not to go forward with this reapplication. If a commercial permit is issued, this will be permanent. And I fear that it will have serious future implications on the May River and on the community. Any restrictions, rules, and regulations that this town council imposes on use of the dock can certainly be challenged, revised, expanded by future elected town officials.
Your time's up. But I think we got the gist. And thank you. Adam Semino? And I'll give y'all a few seconds after 3 minutes, but I'm going to stop you after that. Name and address.
Adam Semino, 60 Alljoy. I am a proud Bluftonian. I'm very proud of this town, this council. I'm proud of our citizens who have chosen to show up tonight. This is all a work in progress, as you know. I am here to say that I am 100% behind a commercial application for a dock at the end of Calhoun Street. My family goes back 5 generations here, if we count our children, my wife and I's children, and we have enjoyed the river for many, many years, and I encourage folks to get out and enjoy the river in whatever application you may. I'm a kayaker, so I get it. I'm a sailor. I get that too. I like to get out and paddleboard. I like to swim, crab, fish, anything in that river, different levels of activity, and no restriction, really. I'm a former boat captain. Maybe one day we'll get back to that, but I've spent a lot of time at the helm, and if I had my druthers, if I had to choose this river to be occupied by a certain type of vessel or boater, I would prefer it to be a licensed captain operating in a commercial capacity, carrying people around the river, versus a non-licensed boat captain with no knowledge or courteous application or respect when it comes to boatway. The boatway argument, we're never going to solve it. You know, DNR is in charge of the river. That's a state thing. We can't police this. That's, you know, that's an argument that will send us in circles for years to come. I get it. I now am lucky enough to have a dock on this river, and I can see where this new dock will be located. And I see Mr. Shoemaker and his boats every day. I'm also lucky enough to work from home, and I look right out at that river for 8 to 10 hours a day while trying to pretend to work. And I'm here to tell you that Chris Shoemaker and his captains are some of the most courteous captains I have ever seen. And I spent over 5 years going up and down a no-wake zone 7 days a week on Hilton Head at Broad Creek and battled many a non-courteous boater and captain. So Chris, thank you for the way you trained them. Lastly, Town of Bluffton, congratulations. You are now in the dock business. You have a dock at Palmetto Bluff. You have a dock at the Oyster Company, and you have a new dock to be built on Calhoun Street. Embrace this. Grab the bull by the horn. Hire someone to be the face of your docks, your launch. You need a harbor master. You need someone to facilitate, not agitate. Someone who can help everyone in the community come together and use these facilities collectively and be a wonderful attribute to this.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly Graham. Okay. Rod Musselman? You've got to come up and speak, sir. I'm sorry. It's the only way we can get it on. And name and address, please, sir. Thank you.
Rod Musselman, 24 Kirk Bluff Road.
Thank you.
And my comments are specific to the Wright Family Park.
Okay.
Is that
Yes,
allowable?
it is. I
Not
think
on the agenda.
it is. That's fine. It's in the same realm.
Okay, well, I'm speaking as a vestry member of the Church of the Cross, and we certainly look forward to. Our hope certainly is that we can work out some sort of schedule and agreement between our special services and our services park, so that we can avoid conflict between the two. Also, you know, since we have spent a lot of money and a lot of time with the Oyster Factory Park, hopefully the large parties and things, respectfully ask that no alcoholic beverages be allowed. Section 3 of the stipulates that no license. Also, certainly that consideration is that there's no amplified proximity with the Church of the Cross and the Methodist Church as a solemn area and a serene area, but again, partnership and hopefully.
Thank you, sir. Mark, when are we going to talk about rules of that park? Is that in the next workshop or coming months?
Yes, we have codification of park and dock rules on the next council agenda, but then we can also talk about Wright Family Park rules specifically at an upcoming workshop. We haven't begun construction out there yet, so we're trying to get this
So we're going to
first.
have kind of an overall rules And then when we get to that, please keep in touch, because we'd love your comments on it at that time, too. Thank you. No more public comments. Kelly, you can raise your hand if you have thoughts on things we're talking about. Next are our workshop items. First, we're going to talk about our proposed stormwater utility fee rate structure. Brian, good evening.
Good evening. So tonight we're here to talk to you about the stormwater utility fee structure. Currently, the town's stormwater utility fee is based on a family unit, which is considered a residential home, which is about 5,000, just under 5,000 square feet of impervious area. Right now, we charge $98 per SFU, and that dates back to 2008. 2016, the county had looked to raise their fee, and we joined with them along with Hilton Head, Port Royal, Beaufort, City of Beaufort, to do a rate study analysis. They came up with several options, and Beaufort County, Port Royal, Beaufort, and Town of Hilton Head have all adopted option E. That's based on an administrative fee, an impervious area fee, and a gross area fee. So those three things combined to come up with the total fee that they charge their citizens. Right now, we're the only ones who don't do that option. So the county charges us an additional $6,000 a year to do a second billing of the stormwater taxes, because they have to run it once, then they have to basically toggle everything and run it again. This chart kind of shows the breakdown. Again, option A, it's based on impervious area on an equivalent single-family unit residence. Option E, again, it's impervious area, gross area, so the total acreage of the lot or the parcel. And then you have an administrative fee. So if you get a property tax bill, that's an account. So if you have an account, you're getting charged a fee no matter what. You're getting a base fee, whatever that may be. Here's the breakdown of Beaufort County, City of Beaufort, Town of Port Royal, and Town of Hilton Head. You can see it varies how much they charge. But at the bottom where it says totals, that's their cumulative rate. County charges $87. They're expected to increase that to $100 this year. That's what they're proposing. City of Beaufort is $135, Port Royal $60, Town of Hilton Head is $150, and we're $98. So again, you can see we don't have that breakdown of administrative fee, impervious area fee, or gross area. It's just based on the single family unit. So the last tax year, it always runs like a year behind. The last tax year, we billed at $1.4 million and collected just about less than $21,000 less than what we billed. So we had a pretty good collection rate of the upper 98th percentile collection, which is great. That's fantastic. So if what we're proposing is option E, ran the study, we come up with about the exact same revenue based on a 97% collection rate and based on the current properties that we have out there right now. So as we continue to grow, if we get more than that 97%, our revenue is expected to increase. How we're proposing to break it down. We presented this to WAPAC last month, proposing a $3 per account fee, $79 per impervious area fee. Add all that up, it's still $98. So the fee itself doesn't go up, it's just how we calculate that fee. WAPAC unanimously recommended to move from option A to option E for the next tax year. We did not present a proposed change in this fee. Per the intergovernmental agreement we have with the county, we have until June 30th to tell them what option we're using and how much we're charging for the next fiscal year when they run it in November. A quick breakdown, and I have specific examples we can go through at the end if you need to see it. But number 2 is the single family unit rate. That's the base. So where you see it says DU times 1, that's the one dwelling unit. So there's the 98 times 1 is 98. So option A for tier 1 homes smaller than 2,500 square feet, it's times 0.5, so 98 times 0.5 is 49. So on the right is option E. You can see the increases or decreases associated with change. So a tier 1 family unit would go up $9.50. Tier 2 would stay at $98. Actually goes down $1.50. All this is just based on example, so it could fluctuate here and there depending on how big your property is, how big, how much gigantic driveway, you could pay a little bit more. Apartments, you can see, are a big jump because currently they only pay 0.39 per that $98. But when you jump into the impervious area they have, and then the size of their parcels, and you multiply that by how many units they have, it significantly goes up. And all these, all these things contribute to our stormwater runoff. So, even a vacant parcel still has runoff that goes into the May River, Okeechobee River, et cetera. Quick breakdown of it. I'm happy to go through specific examples, but basically, we're seeking your input to either adopt option E, current rate structure. Staff is of the belief we do not need a resolution already under the utility ordinance of the county. Basically, every year in the past, Mark has written a letter, or previous town managers have written a letter saying, charging, and that's how we notify the county.
Does this come to council? So this is more of a head shake, or just if it's
Right. If you want it to come back as a formal resolution, we need to speak to Terry and Richardson about how that might impact the intergovernmental agreement and the original stormwater. Because I don't want it to.
Could it be on a consent agenda next month? I just hate when we're missing council members, and I know they're ones looking at it tonight. We're live streaming, but it'd just be nice to have it on there if they had questions.
To answer your question, I believe we can add it to as a resolution, just really a confirmation via a resolution on next council meeting. And I don't think, Brian, that will do anything to affect our current agreement we have with Beaufort County in this matter.
Thoughts to Brian on this?
Yeah, I have a question. No, it's not a monumental jump to some of us, but like at the mobile home, option A is 3528, option E, an increase up to 4744. And that's based on the tier level of under 2,500 feet, correct?
Correct.
I wonder if there should be another tier level, maybe not as high as the 2,500, to protect the smaller units where they're not.
The second column there, the SFU calculation, that's by county ordinance. That's when they established the utility years ago. They're the ones who set those tiers and those values. And I mean, that's in place right now. If we wanted to go back to them to change that, I'm not sure how we would do that. But option E doesn't look at the dwelling units anymore. It's just looking at impervious area and the area of the parcel. It's more fair, in my opinion, because you're saying, I know specifically how much impervious area you have on your property. I know how big your property is, and you charge $3 per your account. It's very matter of fact, black and white.
Go back to the, touched on this, but just go back to enlighten me some more. The apartments, for example, stands out. It's option A was 687. Option E is 6,296. Just, pardon me?
Oh, no, sorry. He flipped me on the screen.
Sorry.
Just talk me through that again.
So here's kind of the breakdown of this one. For the impervious area, you have, the parcel itself has 18 units and 1,000 square feet. Parcel is 17 acres. So based on the old option, you were taking that percentage, that breakdown, that 0.39, times the 18 for 18 units, and then you're doing 98 times, or I'm sorry, plus 98 times the 0.39, and you're coming up with this 687. This is taking the impervious area, 78 equivalent units times the $79 for the impervious fee, there's the $6,000. Gross area is based on a declining block, so basically it's $16 for the first 2 acres, $8 $640 from 10 to 100. Very, yeah, you should see the model. It's very complicated. And no, there's no, I don't know how to say this correctly, but there's no, this one will always pay this one will always pay that. It's different based on the size and how much impervious area. There's always going to be fluctuation. These are just the examples.
I get it. Impervious areas is what's driving the train.
Correct.
The quantity of impervious area.
That's just kind of maybe a history question. Set this up, I remembered when we first started talking about stormwater years ago, that we just didn't know better, and we didn't, did others come after us so they were able to break down, kind of subset out the 3 or 4 different rows of fees, and we just went with one block number? Is that what we did?
Back then, you know, state of knowledge, they probably thought that was the best way to do it, base it on a equivalent single family. When Eric Larson joined the county, he realized that that would not get the revenue that the county needed to continue with their program. They would always be in a deficit. We did that rate study, and based on other municipalities, I think mainly in North Carolina, that they've all been going, and we saw that it would work for us too. So again, we're the only municipality in Beaufort County.
Is there a hardship clause in any of this? I mean, like Dan asked about the mobile homes, and I would like for you to go at least see if there's some, because they're looking at impact fees today. They're re-looking at a lot of things that were passed long ago. If they get in, you know, I know they did a stormwater study about a year or 2 ago, because they asked us to be part of it, I think. The county do a stormwater study like 2 years ago?
That was an updated county master plan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there a hardship clause in there to help some that maybe just, or do they just fall on that 3%?
I know, the only thing I know that you can apply for is a credit. The county has a credit manual that's about this thick. If you credit for that.
But the private individual can, the
Not that I know.
town can't do it on behalf of somebody.
Not that I
Okay,
know.
okay. Else? So, are you against option E? Maybe that's what I should ask. Are you trying to get some idea? We don't vote tonight, but
I mean,
is there a
prefer-
leaning toward option E over what we're doing? Was that recommended by WAPAC? Okay, so if there isn't any objection, bring option E. Are you up all night?
I am.
Okay, next is item 3B, the Calhoun Street Regional Dock. Brian?
Right. Calhoun Street Regional Dock. I've seen this slide, I think, several times. We've had several meetings about this, but a public dock has been there since the early 1800s. Current dock was constructed in the 1970s by Beaufort County. It's owned by Beaufort County. Accommodate approximately 4 small boats. Piles are on the outside. Current use of the dock, you've heard it tonight. I think it's primarily short-term boat dockage for public access, for load and unload passengers from limited commercial eco tours, kayak tours, fishing, various. Cross and the Wright Family Park. Asphalt ramp that comes down to the dock does not meet ADA compliance. It's very steep if you were pilings on the picture on the bottom, how they're on the outside. It kind of prevents docking there. With that boat right there, I don't know how you would dock another
You're supposed to be, can you not? Well, I'm glad you stood up and, I'm sorry, Mayor McCracken. Can someone help Brian pull this up higher? Thank you, because I'm watching I'm reading his lips.
How's this? Can you hear me?
I'm gonna use him as a guide.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear him? You keep talking, I'm looking at Teddy. Okay,
Okay, so the exterior pilings at the dock make it difficult to dock more than 1 or 2 boats on the outside, as you can see.
can you hear that? I'm gonna bring you to the front row, Mayor
Bring
McCracken.
that microphone on the other side.
Yeah. We're still working out the kinks.
Yeah, there you go.
But thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Give me $1.
Yeah. Okay, so town council authorized staff to design and obtain a permit to remove and replace the existing dock in order to provide a more functional dock that would accommodate more docking capacity, improve the connectivity in the May River through handicap access, covered pavilion, a designated fishing area. We wanted to improve the overall appearance of the dock, make it more consistent with the town-owned dock at Palmetto Bluff. And we also wanted to stabilize the bluff and improve the erosion control that's along the shoreline in front of Wright Family Park. Here is a overlay of what we are proposing. You can see the existing dock as it lies today, and the brown is the proposed pier, covered pier head, gangway, and dock. The dock is proposed to be 12 feet wide and 120 feet long. General aesthetic of the dock, again, this is the Palmetto Bluff dock. It's stainless steel wiring, Ipe decking, covered 20 by 20 pier head. We're going to provide more security and low-level lighting just for safety. Gangway that goes down, the pilings would be internal to the dock, so you could get more docking length around the edge of the dock. So we applied for the dock in early 2018, and we did get a permit. However, conditions of that permit stated that no commercial uses would be allowed. We discussed this at strategic plan workshop in February, and we were instructed to proceed or pursue a commercial dock. We decided to get more public input and get more I guess, word of mouth and get more comments regarding that prior to submitting for the permit. We had a meeting on April 4th. About 30 members of the public attended and provided written feedback on questionnaires that we provided. I included those in your staff report, so hopefully you had a chance to read all of those. We also got a few after the meeting that we included in the last packet that I sent you. Yeah.
Last two. Okay, thank you.
So this is just a kind of encapsulation of the results from that questionnaire. These are the questions that we asked. Do you support improvements to the Calhoun Street dock to include a new pier, covered pavilion, new 120-foot dock, and a shoreline stabilization? 71% of the recipient or respondents said yes. 26% no, 3% said maybe, depending on how you do it. What exactly are you going to do? Need more input. Support existing commercial activities. I understand everyone says kayak and paddle boards aren't there. Sorry for me not knowing that, but let's just strike those out. But do you support eco tours, fishing tours, day ferries that currently and historically have used the Calhoun Street dock? 74% said yes, 16% said no, and 10% said maybe. Support allowing water.
Could you back up?
Sure. Yes, sir.
The comment, and I may be wrong, that kayak and paddleboard tours currently, historically, have utilized the Calhoun Street dock along with the others?
Yeah.
Is not?
Right.
Okay.
Our fault. Had an office down there, I would know better.
And let me back up. For the public,
Right.
it's not conducive to that. Okay.
Do you support allowing water taxi or ferry service to and from the town of Bluffton Dock at Palmetto Bluff? 71% said yes, 13% said no, 13% said maybe, and then a couple of people didn't answer it at all. We asked about parking because that's obviously a topic. Do you support parking restrictions during church services on Saturday evening and Sunday mornings? Again, 71% said yes, they're in favor of this. 19% said no. More people didn't answer it. I don't think, some people didn't realize there was a back to the question there. Support an hourly parking limitation on Calhoun Street between Water Street and the dock, and how long should that be if you do support it? 68% of the respondents said yes, we do support a parking limitation, and a 2-hour parking duration was the, I guess, positive response, and 19% was for 3-hour. So pretty close. 39% didn't answer this question. So a lot of the input that we got, a lot of it's the same, and you've heard it tonight. Majority of what we heard was they want to limit how much time a boat can dock at this dock. Some people talked about reserving spots for specific loading and unloading, whether that be commercial or public. Some comments were about reserving spots specifically for public use, whether that's boat and fishing. And we've talked about that before. You all only wanted,
Swimming.
right? You only wanted 6 cleats, so only 6 could tie up at a time, and then the other part of the dock was going to be for public access, fishing, swimming, etc. Limit size of the boats, no large ferries, no alcohol, noise concerns. There were a couple comments about how we were going to build this dock to use water pressure to drive the piles instead of the hammer type construction. On-street parking was a big comment. And then I think you heard it again tonight, having licensed or permits for commercial uses to use the dock. If we were going to allow it, have them come get a license in town, whether that's a business license or a specific,
Yeah.
you know, like Hilton Head has the tags for the beach parking. Maybe you do that for people who want to use that dock. I don't know.
And jumping onto this, 2 questions. Had we figured out how we're driving our pilings if we move forward with this? Is that an option?
We've talked with our contractor, and we think we can do it with the water.
And I'm seeing Emmett talk a little louder in the microphone. Sorry, you just get lower as you talk. But the license and permit, can we do that when would the county support us on a license or permit on a boat? Because that would be a great idea.
We have not researched that just because we haven't gotten that direction from you all.
Okay.
Mayor, I believe it's something we can explore. We haven't asked them yet, just simply for obvious reasons.
I mean, I think that'd be great since we're going down the list, it gives us some control. I guess we could, I don't know.
Some other specific input that we received, we asked what type of restrictions, commercial restrictions, would people support or would they like to see? Again, no large boats or ferries. Some folks said all commercial activities should not be allowed down there. Some people said scuba diving. Some people just said, no fuel stations or pumps, no commercial shrimp or fishermen, no commercial vessels greater than 35 feet, no power boat rentals, no dock builders or barges should be permitted there, no cruise liners, no jet skis, paddle boards, kayaks. Those should be at the Oyster Factory. No commercial passenger activity to and from Hilton Head or Savannah. Those are just a sampling of what we heard. Some input that we got about the rules and regulations for the dock. Some of it some of it I think was meant more for the park, the Wright Family Park, and not specifically the dock, but they kind of go hand in hand like you discussed. Protect the parking for church services, had limited parking during church times or special church events. Parking on Sunday and Saturday night. All parking should be limited and enforced, but open to all patrons and visitors. Again, have a commercial permit to be able to use the dock. Specific noise restrictions. Time that the dock would be open. Right now, I believe Beaufort County allows 24 hours a day, but this, can we close it at 9 o'clock? We can look into that. There were comments about the no wake zone that was already discussed tonight. We have tried with DNR. I think we've gotten as far as we can right now. No overnight dockage, more police enforcement, regulate the size of the boats, and again, this talks about protecting it from commercial use with a permit. Basically, tonight, we're here to get your input again. Should staff proceed with the commercial permit? What rules and regulations do you want to discuss where we can bring that back to you in May, I think is when we were going to codify the park and dock rules. Do we want to talk about certain specific parking restrictions there? Is there anything else you want to talk about at all with the dock, basically? So I kind of want to turn it over to you all and get your input.
I have one side to look at tonight. So anybody want to start with questions? Do you have comments, feedback, other ideas?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I would like to turn it back over to staff and ask staff to take their best stab at this with all of the input that you've garnered thus far and make a proposal to council on how you see the best usage of the dock with the limitations and what's allowed and what is not allowed. Time restrictions, boat tie-up restrictions, so forth and so on. For example, maybe a jet ski should not be parking there. Maybe they should go down to the oyster factory, things like that. I think we have to look and consider, with respect, the times of the churches. We can't accommodate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we know, for example, there's certain times that services are held and thus, so forth. So I would rather see you come back and make a proposal to us and explain to us your reasoning instead of us trying to do it the other way around.
I'll end. Do you have a thought, question? Thank you, Mr. Wood.
We've had workshops, charrettes, clearly suggests that the community want more access to the river. We have public access to the river. This purchase was unique in character, could preserve a contributing structure to our historical preservation because now the town has the means to probably do what others or their family couldn't have do because of grants and relationships. So this it also serves as a park, an open space that allow families to go out and view the river quietly and peacefully, which speak clearly again to why we need more public access. Oyster Factory Park gets pretty busy sometimes, and you have to choose when is a good time to visit, especially me, because boaters and trailers sometimes get to be complicated. So this other park gives us more options. Most of the discussion that we heard tonight makes me feel like we may need another workshop, because I think some of the comments that I heard may have been without understanding what staff has already done, what the community is saying at large. So, and I hate it when we make decisions based on what I call the few that rattles the wagon based on the solid majority. I don't want to make a decision hastily, because I don't want us to make the wrong decision, because I believe this is your decision, not ours. I really believe that we have to represent the will of the people. That's how I see most of my decision. Fred can go home and anytime be fine with either decision, but I want to make sure that the decision that we make capture the majority of the people. So I like Dan's suggestion that staff comes back with more probably data or suggestions, because we as council can't get as much information as they can, because they do 24/7. Meetings or just walking, shaking hands with you at the grocery store. I respect all of your opinions, and I truly think that we need more time before we pull the trigger. Thank you.
So I agree with Dan. I think, look at all the, y'all were here for the workshops. What are, maybe a question is what, well, I'm going to go back. We could keep the dock the way it is right now and not do one thing with it, and life goes on. We have great local businesses whose kids have grown up on this river. So we're not really doing it for one company. I really kind of took offense to that. It's a lot of people who have a love for the river that are working off of that river. Amber is an amazing environmental cheerleader for all things river, and she does such good when she goes out there with students, because they are our next leaders. Chris he brings people back and forth so they're not in cars, so they aren't parking on that road. I think there's some goods in all of it. Sadly, I think minds are made up on both sides. I guess what I would throw out, we're going from 4 cleats to 6 cleats. That's 4 boats to 6 boats. Is the length of the dock a bother? I mean, what started this? Because we don't have to do a thing with it, and we can keep going on life as we know it. The dock was there before all of us were born. So there's a dock. There's going to be a dock there after we all leave this earth. So is it 120 feet? Is that a bother? Are people listening when we say half or more than a third of the dock is going to be totally set aside for those wonderful people who never get to see the river, like so many of y'all get to see every day? They're out there fishing. I'm all about them swimming. My kids jump off that dock when they were little. So we're going to have one portion of that totally set aside with no docks, and I hope some kind of railing to keep boats from. I hope we get very creative on that. So think through what they're saying. I mean, is it a 100-foot dock? I mean, the reason we're doing commercial is because of the bad information that got out that made it look like we were going to start this marina with human trafficking and drug dealings. And it was not the truth. And it's shameful that such bad information can get out on something. We're just trying to beautify an area so more residents can appreciate that river. So we have to go the commercial route. It wasn't 12 days ago, Mr. Kaiser. You came at council 2 months ago and told us about this. And we talked about it, what are our next steps at a very public strategic plan that's televised at the county level, that we had to make the decision what to do. Leave it alone, keep it as is. Accidents with those crazy pylons that are there. We're just trying to make it safer. So think through. I like Dan's idea, but I mean, maybe they can come back, and we've got emails. Is it the length? Is it? I mean, can we just do 4 cleats and upgrade it and make it safer? But, we're going down this road just because we're trying to keep good visibility of the river, make it safer, put rules on it to enforce from all these concerns. I don't want any of these concerns to take place, but we can't do anything. Now we have rules, and the rules are the rules. So, part of me wants to just leave it alone, because I want these businesses to do well, and I want them to be able to use this river for education purposes. And they make money. It's an American dream. So come back to us. You heard, I think, all 3 of us.
Is there anything that you saw in either these regulations or restrictions that want me to pursue more than others? I don't want to bring something to you that's a total waste of your time and that's totally off the rails, but I think there's some really good comments in here, limiting the size. I like the 6th bullet down about commercial vessels, but if there's a length, like 35 feet, do you want us to pursue something like that, or?
I don't know what a 35-foot boat looks. I know what a 14-foot whaler looks like. 'Cause that's
Start
what I
there.
own.
Okay. Anything else?
Start there.
The power, I like no powerboat rentals. I mean, I think those are all things we would have done anyway. No fuel station pumps. Put that somewhere where it's in there forever. I mean, I agree, scuba diving, I don't know why someone wants to scuba dive in the river, but put it on there. Large boats, ferry, I mean, cruise liners, we don't want those there. I mean, they all make sense. Like Dan said, the paddle boards and kayaks can't be there now. So no alcohol, all about that.
Pretty sure that's in the current.
I think it is. Is there a way to gate that dock at night where we can close it?
Yeah, I think we could
Something
probably
to
do
look
that
at
at the
cosmetically.
Pierhead. Yes, ma'am.
No builders or barges, I agree. I agree to all that. But if we agreed to all that, at the end of the day, are we still going to get misinformation out about a commercial dock? Because we would have done this with the regular permit if we could have had support on it, and it would still have been a community dock that allowed community feelings. So I don't know. I mean, is there anything you don't want him?
It comes out somewhat a winner. Everybody's not going to be totally 100% happy. They never are with everything we do. But the other point of it is the community's growing. We have limited water access everywhere. And I have personally been down there and taken photographs of families, up to 40 people at a time, that I had shared with this council in the past. And that was one reason that this council was wanting to limit the number of boats that could be placed there at a given time, which were 4 to 6. So we're trying to be as cognizant as we can to make something that works for everybody, and I think we can do that. So. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, moving on. Workshop item 3C, Squire Pope Cottage Preservation Plan. This is not the park. We're going to talk about the overall rules in May, and we'll probably have a lot of time for public comment on park rules.
Yes,
and we
ma'am.
have great stakeholders here, and we have your information. So this is just the actual cottage preservation plan for the structure that's on the property. So you may as well stay. Okay.
Brian doesn't get all the fun. I get.
Oh,
I am
Kevin.
Yes,
Hi.
it's Kevin.
I
It's
thought
Kevin
it was
this time.
Brian for the night.
Yes. So
Talk loudly.
I hopefully this is loud enough for everyone to hear.
Joe? Good.
As you stated, Madam Mayor, we are here for the Squire Pope Cottage House stakeholder identification. Just to kind of give you a quick background, or excuse me, the request is for you to provide some stakeholders, for a list of potential stakeholders to be provided to staff, so that way we could form the group to come up with a preservation plan for the house, or excuse me, the cottage. To give you some background information, the project scope, the phase 1, which will include the preservation plan, which is inclusive of a stabilization and structural assessment. And then the second part of phase 1 is the actual creation of the bid-ready construction documents. So this evening, we're here for that first part, the phase 1 FY19. It's just to create the stakeholder group in order to move forward with that preservation plan. And then in phase 2, in FY20, will be to include the construction associated with the reuse strategy that comes from the stakeholder group. Quick background of a timeline is that in February 2nd of this past year, the town was granted $30,000 to move forward with this preservation plan. And that was provided by the National Park Service through the preservation fund that they have. March 8th, we sent out a request for qualifications on the vendor registry. On the 21st, we had 6 qualified firms. On the 28th, of those 6 proposals, Metters Company was selected. And then we had contract negotiations on the 5th. Today, we actually signed the contract to move forward. And of course, they're looking to identify the stakeholder group. From a next step standpoint, will be the creation of the preservation plan, the bid-ready construction documents, and then the associated construction. From a schedule standpoint, it is approximately 18 weeks for the preservation plan. This is all provided in your packet, with the beginning of September to have that final report. Again, the strategy of this is to maintain those open channels of communication. The goal is to have a future reuse of the structure. It'll be informed by the input of the stakeholder group with their feedback that will be directly impact the results of the bid-ready construction documents and then the future construction work. We do have a list of potential stakeholders, would include representatives of yourself, commission members of both the Historic Preservation Commission as well as the Planning Commission, the mayor, director of engineering, the town manager, principal planner, a representative of the Beaufort County Rural and Critical Land Preservation Program, representatives of the Wright family, and then any interested individuals that you've identified that you would like to be included on this list. So again, we're looking for some guidance from you. If this is an appropriate list of stakeholders, we will move forward, really starting this week into next week of contacting these individuals to start setting up the meetings to go through the process. So if you have any interested individuals that you'd like to let us know, and we're happy to move forward with that.
Add a representative from Bluffton Historic Preservation Society. They're not, I don't think they're on here. Kelly's here, he can find us somebody. I think it'd be great to have. I don't know. Someone who.
We can reach out,
houses.
yeah, from a
I don't
staff
know.
level.
Maybe y'all talk
Yes,
about,
ma'am.
maybe Aaron could go through some names, someone on your board, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll reach out to Kelly to.
And what is the purpose? This is to be more of a workshop type situation to go over ideas and get
Yes,
get
ma'am.
advice and feedback?
Advice, feedback as to what is an appropriate reuse of this building. So before any construction documents are created and moving forward with any type of documentation, we need to know what do you want to use this building? You know, what type of programming do you want to have in there? And that's where the stakeholder group will have that opportunity to formulate ideas of what is an appropriate use of the building, reuse.
Wouldn't it also be toward like we want to put it back into what it was. So there's a lot of steps to get to, would not the goal be to have this on the National Register at some point down the road? I think that's what I was thinking.
Correct.
So we're not looking at like any rehab of it where you get ideas and support from.
Yes, ma'am. That's the purpose of the stakeholder group is to determine what we want to do, if it's going to be an assembly, if it's going to be an office building, if it's going to, be some type of private use to it. There's different requirements for building code that you have to go through. But before we start creating documents for all that, we need to know what we want to do first.
Questions? I have another one. If y'all don't.
I like the process. I don't remember exactly when we did the Garvin Garvey house. I remember showing up at the meetings, Mayor McCracken and Teddy were there, and Ann Cook and others that just were concerned. They weren't necessarily tied into any particular organization. So I want to see if we can find a way to get that out there, to get some more public input, not just those who belong. I can think of a few. Aaron, you know those that are passionate about history around here big time, that make their living in those fields also, that are in the public arena. So I would like to see more of that. And I'm all about is a wonderful job we did with the Garvin Garvey house. You want to see some sustainability, hopefully will come from this building, that it's got a purpose.
And our goal, obviously, is we don't want to have a group that is so large where any one person, can dominate the use of anyone else. So, we have to keep it, relatively a small amount, anywhere between typically 12 to 15 people. Once you get larger than that, it's too many people that are in there. Obviously, this information would then come back to town council.
But it would be open to the public, the meetings
Absolutely,
that you would have.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
would suggest, I think Aaron's had a good relation, even with the Campbell Chapel going for its designation. I think there's some great folks there that you could reach out to. Honestly, I think Erin's got a good list of people, if you would get with her and see who would. Fred, do you have anything?
Like what I've heard, so. Kevin, you're exactly right. Don't make it too big because.
But you could have 12 people around a table with a lot of public when there's time for the public to make comments. I think that's how we saw the Garvin Garvey house. I have a question on that purchase, and I know maybe the Garvin Garvey was a little different because of Mr. Jerry Reeves on it, but was there, and Mike's in here, was there any restriction on use of this since we partnered with your group on this purchase, that it stays civic? Yes, sir. I don't know if people at home can, so. It's on Facebook Live, and we have 367 views right now, so it's working.
I'm Michael Matthews, and the reason I've been brought forward is I'm the current chairman of the Rural and Critical Land Preservation Board. And so we were great partners with the town to make this park come together. And so as far as I know, there are no restrictions in terms of its use. I continue to use the Factory Park as a good example of good stewardship by this town to take those investments and move them forward. So I think I appreciate that you're looking for someone from the Rural and Critical Land to be part of the discussion. Our rules, our guidelines do not.
Sorry. We're listening to you.
Our rules and guidelines, at least in terms of how we deal with properties, is really pretty silent on buildings. So others may have some input. I mean, there are other examples, like on the Graves property, there was a farmhouse on there, a horse barn that was being leased out. So there is some opportunity there, but you have the, as I understand it, through the MOA, control, if you will, leadership on this park. So. Okay. Consultation is always important, and I'd be glad to help work out any consultation and part of the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very, and you're still the chair, so you would give us your selection. It might be you, right? You want someone from Rural and Critical Lands, you would go to the chair to get a name. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Okay.
And Madam Mayor, if I could, just point of clarification, I do have you listed on there on this list, but I would also like either one or potentially more, or if whomever of the town council members to be a representative of this. We would really encourage that we have.
Well, I kind of thought I kind of fit into the number 1 bullet. I didn't know I was number 3, but I think all of us could be on there if we wanted to. It's a public meeting.
That's what I was trying to clarify with Kevin over on the side. I think when our notes, when we left, we just said rather than Mayor Salka, it was just Mayor Salka or mayor or designee. Do you want one member or more than one member?
Why don't we just poll and see if somebody else wants to sit there? It's fine.
As long as
we
we
can
don't
all
have-
still come.
Correct. As long as we don't have a quorum.
But can't we have it's a public meeting, so we could have a quorum.
Okay. Good point.
You still notify,
Just stand
right?
corrected. Yes, we'll make it more public and post it that way as a stakeholder meeting. I see Aaron taking a note. Great.
Okay. Anything else for him on this? So when do we start this? When's the next steps for this? After
Next week,
after
Aaron.
the historic symposium. That'd be a great.
Not much sooner, yes. We're anticipate starting next week on this process.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Anything from anybody? Okay. Good. Everyone good with next steps? Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn this workshop?
So moved.
Second.
There we go. Thank you all for coming.